What do a proposal at the foot of a dormant volcano, an agonizing 9-year secret wait, and a fragile porcelain ring sculpted by the groom's own hands have in common? Behind each of these seemingly disconnected moments are future kings, princesses, and incredible real-life love stories. Beyond the sparkle of royal sapphires and diamonds lie the doubts, compromises, and decisions that forever changed not only their lives, but entire monarchies. Let's step behind the scenes of the most romantic royal engagements, where the jewels are just the beginning of the story. Before we begin, please support my channel by clicking on the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you. We often think of Grace Kelly and Prince Rainier III's story as a flawless Hollywood fairy tale. It is tempting to believe the prince saw the dazzling blonde on a movie screen, fell in love at first sight, and whisked her away to his palace. But real life unfolded a bit differently, and honestly, I love the true story so much more for its genuine, relatable imperfections. Their very first meeting was arranged by a magazine editor for a photo shoot at the Monaco Palace on May 6, 1955, while Grace was attending the Cannes Film Festival. And if you think a future princess's morning started with a leisurely breakfast and a perfect blowout, it was quite the opposite. France was facing a labor strike that day, and the electricity in Grace's hotel was cut off. She couldn't dry her hair or iron the dress she had carefully picked out. To top it all off, her car was involved in a minor collision on the way. When she finally arrived at the palace, with slightly damp hair and a rushed outfit, it turned out Prince Rainier was running late. She ended up wandering the palace and its private zoo, practicing her mandatory curtsy while waiting. I just love this contrast. We always expect a glossy, picture-perfect moment, but instead, they got a very real, slightly awkward situation full of everyday chaos. Despite the messy start, a spark was definitely there, and a long, secret correspondence began. At Christmas in 1955, the prince traveled to see Grace's family in Philadelphia, where he proposed. In the first official engagement photos, the ring sparkling on Grace's finger is not the giant diamond we all know. Her first engagement ring was an elegant eternity band made of alternating rubies and diamonds. I think this was a beautiful, thoughtful choice. The red and white stones directly mirrored the colors of the Monaco flag. The press often attributes this piece to Cartier, though no strict archival receipts or sketches have ever been published to confirm it. Not long after, that modest ruby band was replaced by a piece that truly made history. It was a monumental Cartier creation, set in platinum, featuring 2 delicate baguette-cut diamonds on the sides, and an incredible 10.48-carat emerald-cut diamond in the center. Why the sudden change? You might have heard the popular story that the studio planned to use a fake prop diamond for her final film, High Society, and an outraged Rainier immediately bought a real, massive diamond to save face. The truth is, when we look into the Cartier archives, they neither confirm nor deny this legend. The exact reason the second ring appeared remains a bit of a mystery, and we don't know what truly guided Rainier's decision. However, there is another version shared by Grace's friend, Judith Balaban Quine. She suggested that the initial ruby band was always meant to be just a placeholder, a friendship ring, and Grace always knew a proper, much larger engagement ring was being made for her. Whatever Rainier's true motives were, the spectacular Cartier ring became a full-fledged star of high society. In one scene, Bing Crosby's character even jokes about the size of the stone, and Grace playfully polishes it against a cushion. Once filming wrapped, it was time to pack her bags. On April 4, 1956, Grace boarded the ocean liner Constitution in New York, heading to Monaco. While the massive diamonds sparkled brightly on her finger, she was leaving an immense part of her life behind. Grace was at the absolute peak of her career, having recently won an Academy Award for The Country Girl. She had to give up acting and refuse any future Hollywood roles, as her new status and royal duties made continuing her film career practically impossible. I often think about how difficult that decision must have been for a young, highly successful woman to simply walk away from everything she had built in her profession. In mid-April, Monaco hosted 2 grand ceremonies, a civil one and a religious one. Her iconic wedding dress, made of ivory silk peau de soie and Brussels lace, was a parting gift from MGM Studios. As tens of millions of people watched the broadcast around the world, the Hollywood star gracefully stepped out of the spotlight to embrace her new life as the Princess of Monaco, a journey that started with two very different but equally significant rings. I know perfectly well that for most of you, the love stories of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, as well as William and Catherine, are beautifully familiar. You probably know the details of their rings just as well as I do, so I won't bore you by repeating every single technical fact you've heard 100 times. But you must agree, it is simply impossible to talk about the most romantic royal engagements and leave these two iconic couples out. Sometimes, an engagement ring is so much more than a beautiful piece of jewelry. It is a bridge between the past and the future, a way to include those who can no longer be there to share in the joy. When Prince Philip and Princess Elizabeth became secretly engaged at Balmoral in the summer of 1946, the post-war years were austere. Philip, a serving naval officer, certainly did not possess a massive personal fortune to commission an extravagant ring. This is where his mother, Princess Alice, stepped in. She gave her son a diamond and aquamarine tiara she had received as a wedding gift decades earlier from the Russian imperial family. Diamonds carefully extracted from that very piece were used to craft the classic platinum ring for his bride. I love that Philip was personally involved in designing the ring. It always adds such a romantic touch. This ring already carried a deep history right from the start, thanks to his mother's tiara and its connection to the Romanovs. But over the years it spent on Elizabeth's finger, it grew a whole new layer of meaning, ultimately becoming one of the main symbols of their long love story. Decades later, another young prince found a way to weave his mother's memory into his own proposal. In October 2010, Prince William traveled to Kenya for a holiday with Catherine Middleton. He brought along the famous 12-carat Ceylon sapphire engagement ring that had belonged to his late mother, Diana, Princess of Wales. But do you remember how he kept it safe? During their official engagement interview, William confessed that he had carried the ring around in his travel rucksack for about 3 weeks before finally popping the question, absolutely terrified of losing it. There is another sweet detail about this proposal. William actually asked Catherine to marry him first, and only then went to her father, Michael Middleton, for his blessing. As he jokingly admitted, he was terrified Michael might say no if he asked him beforehand. Seeing the strong, supportive marriage William and Catherine have built over the years, I am just so glad this magnificent sapphire has finally found a truly happy story. While Prince William was nervously carrying a priceless historical heirloom in his backpack across Kenya in the autumn of 2010, his cousin Zara experienced a proposal that was entirely different, yet just as special, only a couple of months later. Zara Phillips and rugby player Mike Tindall met in Australia during the 2003 Rugby World Cup. After Mike was dropped from the squad for the semi-final, his teammates decided to take him out for a drink to cheer him up. Zara just happened to be in that same group. They started talking, became friends, and eventually, it grew into something very serious. Fast forward to December 2010. When you think of a perfect royal proposal, it often feels like there has to be an extraordinary location, a prepared speech, and a meticulously planned surprise. Well, Mike proposed at home. Zara was simply sitting on the sofa watching television. Mike later confessed he was pacing around upstairs, trying to gather his courage and find a moment where she wouldn't suspect a thing. Finally, he came downstairs, walked over, and got down on one knee. Zara was so caught off guard by the completely ordinary setting that she actually laughed at first. But then, of course, she said yes. The ring Mike presented is beautiful but sensible. A single, brilliant-cut diamond set on a split platinum band, dusted with smaller pavé diamonds. What really makes it special is its low setting, making it much more practical than typical towering royal rings. It is often said that Mike specifically requested this low-profile design because Zara is a professional equestrian and needed a ring she could actually wear comfortably. I have to admit, couples who choose a more everyday, casual approach both surprise and fascinate me. It feels a bit unusual to me personally, but sometimes stripping away the spectacular scenery and grand gestures actually highlights the true, unvarnished closeness between two people. It is wonderful that there are so many different kinds of couples, and that romance looks completely different for everyone. Zara and Mike were married in July 2011. They now have 3 children and have never tried to paint their marriage as a flawless, glossy fairy tale. Instead, they always talk about it as an ongoing, real-life partnership where keeping a good sense of humor is absolutely essential. While Zara's proposal was a cozy surprise in her living room, another royal cousin experienced a completely different, yet equally unexpected twist. When her fiancé got down on one knee by a breathtaking lake, he did it totally empty-handed. Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank first crossed paths back in 2010 at the Swiss ski resort of Verbier. Over the next 7 years, their relationship grew steadily. They successfully navigated long distances when Eugenie worked in New York, built their careers, and seamlessly blended into each other's families. They both knew they were moving toward marriage, so a proposal was really only a matter of time. In January 2018, the couple was traveling in Nicaragua. Late one afternoon, they found themselves by a beautiful lake with a dormant volcano resting in the background. The setting sun cast the most incredible, almost surreal light over the water. It was in this breathtaking setting that Jack finally asked Eugenie to marry him. You would think that after 7 years together, with a wedding clearly on the horizon, the proposal wouldn't be much of a shock. Yet, when that specific moment actually arrived against the vibrant sunset, Eugenie was completely caught off guard. She later admitted it was an absolute surprise that left her crying tears of pure joy. But here's the detail that makes this story so fascinating. When Jack got down on one knee, there was no finished ring waiting in a little velvet box to slip onto his fiancé's finger. Jack had already found and purchased the magnificent center gemstone, but he deliberately chose not to order the setting. He wanted Eugenie to be fully involved in the creative process so they could design the final piece together upon their return home. I know some might feel that this unusual approach takes away a bit of the traditional romance or the magic of a classic surprise. I honestly do not see that as a problem at all. Quite the opposite. I think it shows a tremendous amount of care and thoughtfulness. After all, she is the one who will wear this ring every single day for the rest of her life. Choosing to design it together, especially when it is not a standard diamond solitaire, but a highly unique piece, brings its own special charm and intimacy to the story. And the gemstone Jack chose was definitely not standard. He selected a rare padparacha sapphire. The name originates from a Sinhalese word describing the delicate color of a lotus blossom, which is a mesmerizing, glowing blend of pink and orange. Eventually, the couple designed a beautiful floral halo of diamonds to surround the oval stone, giving it a soft, vintage feel. But the real magic lies in the reason behind Jack's selection. During their engagement interview, he explained that the padparacha sapphire changes its color beautifully depending on the light and the angle from which you view it. He sweetly noted that this shifting, vibrant nature reminded him of Eugenie herself. We often get so caught up in carat weights and the rarity of the jewels, but to me, a single, tender observation from a groom about the character of the woman he loves easily outshines even the brightest gemstone. While Eugenie's ring was chosen to reflect her vibrant personality, other royal grooms have looked to something entirely different for inspiration, the very colors of their future kingdoms. In September 2000, the city of Sydney was buzzing with the electric energy of the Olympic Games. Mary Donaldson, an Australian advertising executive, went out for a casual evening with a friend to the Slip-In pub. There, she was introduced to a polite young European man who simply introduced himself as Fred. They shook hands and immediately struck up an easy conversation. It was only about half an hour later that someone quietly leaned in and informed her that the friendly guy she was chatting with was actually the Crown Prince of Denmark. Just think about it. You head out to a local bar for a relaxing night with friends, shake a stranger's hand, and that single, seemingly ordinary moment ends up completely altering your destiny and shaping the history of an entire European monarchy. That pub meeting sparked a romance that had to bridge continents. For about 2 years, Mary and Frederick navigated a challenging long-distance relationship. Eventually, Mary made the massive decision to move to Europe, taking on a notoriously difficult new language and gradually preparing for a completely different reality. In the late summer of 2003, Frederick took Mary on a romantic trip to Rome. He had already planned everything out. Finding a quiet, secluded moment in the Eternal City, the Crown Prince got down on one knee. He proposed in English, the language of their very first conversations, and, as he later jokingly recalled, he strictly told her that she absolutely did not have the right to say no. Thankfully, she didn't want to. But how do you encapsulate such a monumental transition in a piece of jewelry? How do you express that a young woman from the other side of the globe is stepping into the role of the future Queen of Denmark? Frederick found the perfect answer. He presented Mary with a stunning ring featuring an emerald-cut center diamond, flanked by two beautiful ruby baguettes. White and red, the exact colors of the Dannebrog, the national flag of Denmark. I honestly find it incredibly romantic. I always appreciate it when a piece of jewelry carries a profound, hidden meaning. This design was a beautiful, elegant reminder of exactly who was making the proposal. It was a royal heir asking her not just to be his wife, but to embrace his country and serve it by his side. Because of this, the ring became so much more than just a gorgeous accessory. It acted as a visual passport, a brilliant symbol of Mary's complete transition into her new royal life. And just as a sweet side note, Mary later modified the ring by adding extra diamonds alongside the rubies to represent their 4 children, allowing the piece to grow right alongside their family. In the spring of 1999, the vibrant, sun-drenched Feria de Abril in Seville served as the backdrop for another unexpected royal romance. Maxima Zoraguieta, a vivacious Argentine working in New York, was introduced to a Dutchman named Alexander through mutual friends. Initially, she didn't even realize he was the Prince of Orange and actually thought he was acting a bit strangely by dodging her camera. But soon enough, genuine sparks flew. When they returned to their respective countries, they spent hours talking on the phone. In fact, Maxima later admitted she had almost forgotten what he looked like and was incredibly nervous before their next meeting in New York. When she finally sat her parents down to explain that her new boyfriend, Alexander, was actually the future king of the Netherlands, they honestly thought she was joking or had completely lost her mind. The bright, fiery atmosphere of Spain, where their feelings first ignited, would eventually give way to a completely different, quintessentially Dutch setting for the actual proposal. Fast forward to a freezing afternoon on January 19, 2001. Willem-Alexander invited Maxima to go ice skating on the frozen pond near the Huis ten Bosch Palace in The Hague, wanting her to experience a truly traditional Dutch pastime. After about 2.5 hours on the ice, Maxima was freezing and simply waiting for a warm cup of hot chocolate. Instead, Willem-Alexander awkwardly hobbled over the dry, freezing ground on his ice skates to retrieve a secretly hidden bouquet of red roses and a bottle of champagne. He proposed in English, wanting to be absolutely certain she understood every single word. She immediately said yes, later recalling that she wanted to scream with pure joy. It is such a wonderfully charming and deeply genuine moment. It remains so special to them that 20 years later, in 2021, the king and queen returned to that very same frozen pond to take a photo on the exact spot where their engagement began. When Willem-Alexander slipped the ring onto her finger, it revealed a remarkably rare gemstone. The platinum ring features 2 emerald-cut white diamonds on the sides, with bands encrusted in brilliant-cut diamonds. But the centerpiece is a stunning oval orange diamond. Just like Mary's ring in Denmark, this choice masterfully combined personal elegance with profound national significance. The vibrant orange color is the ultimate, undeniable symbol of the House of Orange-Nassau and the national identity of the Netherlands. As I mentioned earlier, I find this approach incredibly romantic. There is something truly special when a piece of jewelry carries such a rich, layered meaning. It serves as a beautiful, constant reminder that the man proposing is not just offering his heart, but also asking her to share the destiny of his country. It is a perfect harmony of a rare, personal jewel and absolute state symbolism, captured beautifully in one breathtaking stone. While some couples quickly navigate the complexities of royal expectations, others have to prove their commitment over many long years. This brings us to Sweden and a story of remarkable patience. In 2001, Crown Princess Victoria met Daniel Wessling. He wasn't a foreign prince or a wealthy aristocrat. He was a personal trainer and the owner of a fitness center, hailing from the small, quiet town of Ockelbo. Naturally, the public and the press were highly skeptical. People openly wondered, could a regular guy from a local gym really step into the role of the future queen's husband? It makes you wonder, why did they wait almost 8 long years before finally announcing their engagement? The truth is, it wasn't just about overcoming public doubt or securing official government consent. Daniel himself honestly admitted that he simply needed time. He had to completely transform his life, step away from his business, and deeply understand royal protocol, state history, and his future supportive role. Rushing into it would have been naive. When the time was finally right, Daniel planned a perfectly serene proposal. On a crisp, sunny winter day in early 2009, while walking through the peaceful gardens of Drottningholm Palace, with the snow loudly crunching beneath their boots, he asked Victoria to marry him. Her answer was an enthusiastic, "Yes, yes!" He presented Victoria with a classic, round, brilliant-cut diamond solitaire set in white gold. The ring closely resembles the one her father had given Queen Sylvia in 1976, another round diamond solitaire, reportedly made with a stone that had previously belonged to Princess Sibylla. We do not know whether Daniel intended the similarity, but the two rings create a lovely visual connection between mother and daughter. It all sounds like a flawless winter fairy tale, but behind this beautiful picture hid a very serious and frightening ordeal. Just a year before their wedding, Daniel's health deteriorated due to a congenital condition, and he had to undergo a kidney transplant. His own father, Allah, bravely stepped in to be the donor. Through all the anxiety, the hospital stays, and the challenging recovery process, Victoria was constantly by his side, proving that their bond went far beyond royal glamour. Their magnificent wedding in June 2010 silenced all the remaining critics, but the most unforgettable moment happened later at the evening banquet. During his speech, Daniel shared a deeply intimate story with the guests. He recalled a time when Victoria had to leave for an official overseas tour that would last exactly 30 days. Instead of getting a good night's sleep before her exhausting trip, the Crown Princess stayed awake the entire night. She sat at her desk and hand-wrote 30 individual letters, just so Daniel would have a new message from her to open every single day they were apart. I honestly think that this one quiet, unseen gesture speaks volumes more about true love and devotion than any royal titles, historical tiaras, or the carat weight of a diamond ring. Now, I want to take you to Norway for a story that truly spans generations, where one ring connects two women who had to overcome quite a lot to find their place. Harold and Sonia met in the summer of 1959 at a party hosted by mutual friends. She didn't belong to the aristocracy. Her father was in the clothing trade, and Sonia herself was studying dressmaking and design. In a modern European monarchy, this wouldn't surprise anyone today, but in the early 60s, a dynastic marriage was still very much expected from the heir to the Norwegian throne. They kept their relationship a secret for several years. Sonia later shared that the uncertainty was incredibly heavy. She couldn't appear openly next to the man she loved, and she had no idea if they would ever get permission to marry. Harald, in turn, completely refused to look for a more suitable bride. The waiting lasted for 9 years. Eventually, he informed his father, King Olav, that he would not marry anyone but Sonia. If this marriage did not take place, Harald would remain a bachelor. For a small dynasty with a single male heir, this meant a very real threat to the direct line of succession. From the monarchy's point of view, such a step probably couldn't be called the most convenient or cautious. But in this story, Harald's beautiful adherence to his principles is what matters most to me. He did not abandon the woman he loved, even though the resistance lasted for almost a decade. It is always heartwarming to know that there are men capable of putting love first and going against the expectations of their own family and environment. In 1968, consent was finally granted. Harald presented Sonja with the engagement ring of his late mother, Crown Princess Martha. It features a highly unique vintage design, crafted in warm yellow gold, adorned with diamonds and two vibrant rubies shaped like delicate crescents. 32 years later, this very same ring played its part once again when history repeated itself with Harald and Sonja's son. In 1999, Crown Prince Håkon grew close to a young woman named Mette-Marit. She had no aristocratic roots, a rebellious past, and was already a mother to a young son, Marius. An unprecedented wave of press pressure immediately hit the couple. But Mette-Marit didn't hide. Just 3 days before the royal wedding, she stepped out to face the press herself, openly admitting the mistakes of her youth and asking for a chance to start fresh. Håkon sat right beside her the entire time, holding her hand. And sparkling on Mette-Marit's finger was that exact same ring with the ruby crescents. Håkon had given her the family heirloom his father had once presented to his mother. Today, amid the serious controversies surrounding Mette-Marit and her eldest son, this story is inevitably viewed differently than it was in 2000. But at the time, King Harald and Queen Sonja supported their son's decision and welcomed not only the woman he loved, but also the child who was already part of her life. We cannot know for certain how much their own experience influenced them. Still, it is difficult not to see a connection. Having once waited 9 years for the right to marry each other, they may have been especially reluctant to deny their son the same freedom of choice. Sometimes, the most striking statements are made not with historical diamonds, but with something entirely unexpected. Just recently, in July 2026, a modern royal engagement gave us a completely different perspective on what a proposal can look like. Sam Chatto, the grandson of Princess Margaret and great-nephew of Queen Elizabeth II, announced his engagement to Eleanor Eugenie. They first met while studying at the University of Edinburgh, and their relationship naturally blossomed in a deeply creative environment. Both of them are professional artists. Eleanor expresses herself through painting and film, while Sam is a dedicated ceramicist who works primarily with porcelain. When you think of a member of the extended British royal family proposing, someone whose family history is tied to the most famous royal vaults and prestigious auctions in the world, what kind of ring comes to mind? A vintage sapphire? A substantial, brilliant-cut diamond? You honestly wouldn't believe what Sam chose to do. In the black-and-white photograph they shared to announce their happy news, there are no dazzling gems or heavy metal settings. Instead, we see a purely sculptural form, 2 elegantly intertwined branches. Sam sculpted this ring from porcelain with his own hands, crafting it specifically for Eleanor. After spending so much time today admiring enormous sapphires, historic rubies, and vibrant orange diamonds, seeing this incredibly fragile, intimate object is such a beautiful and refreshing contrast. It is a completely unique and unusual approach. Of course, porcelain is a delicate material. It is hard, yet inherently vulnerable. Realistically, it isn't a ring you could safely wear while doing everyday chores, and perhaps Sam will give her a more durable ring for daily wear later on. But to use a delicate ring that you meticulously shaped with your own hands for the exact moment of asking someone to marry you? I find that to be an unbelievably romantic gesture. It requires careful, gentle handling, which feels like a very natural, living metaphor for love itself. We have looked at so many very different rings today. Behind every gemstone, behind every band of gold, platinum, or porcelain, there are real people navigating their own lives. Someone waited 9 long years for the right to marry. Someone crossed an ocean to start a new chapter. Someone nervously hid a legendary heirloom in a travel backpack, and someone molded their tenderness right into clay. In the end, the true value of an engagement ring isn't measured in carat weight, and it isn't defined by the records in high-end jewelry catalogs. Its real worth is simply what one human being wanted to say to another in that quiet, vulnerable moment when asking to share the rest of their lives together. And as we have seen today, sometimes this beautiful language of love speaks so much louder than any words. If you enjoyed this journey through the pages of royal romances, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you won't miss our next story. I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these engagements touched your heart the most? Thank you so much for watching and for sharing this time with me. Jewels might be silent, but their stories are not. They will never fade away as long as we keep telling them. See you next time!